Globalization. When some people hear this word, they feel excited. They think of the concept as the ultimate unifier, a force that can level the playing field, provide countless opportunities, and enrich cultures and lives worldwide. When other people hear this word, they feel upset. They think of the ways that globalization can promote exploitation and further the divide between the rich and the poor, or they might be concerned that their cultural and national identities will be destroyed, that the world will blend into a homogeneous, bland soup. They feel that their deepest values are threatened. When I hear this word, I think, well, it's complicated. Hi, I'm Misha, and today I'm going to talk about globalization, the American character, and the role that theater plays in all this. Globalization is really nothing new. It goes back to trade routes, then railroads, and then the telegram. All instances of technology and exchange of information and ideas. The big difference is that whereas in the past an idea or a new product might take weeks or months or years to travel around the world, it now takes minutes, even seconds. This is because of the invention of the internet, more efficient travel, and multinational companies. Ideas, like cute cat videos, can go viral and take the world by storm, faster than anyone just a few decades ago would have believed. So with the speed that globalization is now happening, it's no wonder that this concept will elicit intense emotional responses from people. One of the big questions that's being posed in many countries today is, what does this mean for us? With the world becoming more integrated, what does it mean to be French, to be Indian, to be American? Cue the great political divide sweeping the world. Cue socialists and populists gaining popularity. Cue debates over opening the borders and building the wall, over American-made products and international trade deals. In this country, all of these are just large-scale ways of trying to deal with the pressing question of what it really means to be an American in a globalized world. The way I see it, the American character must change to fit into the globalized world that we're living in. And there are two ways that we could do this. We could define ourselves against other nations and other peoples. To be an American is not to be fill in the blank. This is the narrow approach to what being an American is. Or we can expand what it means to be an American to include the ever more diverse face of this country. We can choose to learn from other nations' successes and failures and make space for more people to be a part of what it means to be an American. I personally favor this more inclusive approach because I believe that at the heart of what makes this country great is its diversity. As artists, we have the ability to shape how people view each other and themselves. We have the ability to shape how people view the world. If what Oscar Wilde said is true, and life does indeed imitate art more than art imitates life, then all of us that call ourselves artists have an opportunity and a responsibility to promote the type of country and the type of world that we want to live in. I long for a globalized world that promotes understanding and equality, that doesn't blend cultures into homogeny, but rather celebrates the diversity of the human experience. I long for a globalized world where countries can share the best of themselves with others and can help build each other up rather than exploit each other. There are a few strategies that I believe theater practitioners can take to promote this lofty vision for the future. I'll turn now from my wide sweeping claims to two examples of American theatrical works that have attempted to adapt to technology and the globalized world. The first is David Henry Hwang's play Yellowface. This play is about representation politics, about fighting for the right to represent yourself on stage and on screen, and it's also a play about how life and art intersect. One of the most poignant scenes of this play is when the man interrogating David says, "There is no conflict between being white and being an American," suggesting that there is a conflict between being Chinese and American. The play suggests that one of the ways to help expand the idea of the American is to have more representation of the diversity that is America on stage and on screen. This is one of the three major strategies I believe that we should be using in theater as we work towards a more justly globalized nation and more justly globalized world. A second work that's seeking to adapt to the globalized world is Mike Daisey's monologue, The Agony and Ecstasy of Steve Jobs. This work is all about technology and globalization. It examines the global tech industry and the ways that American companies have been exploiting workers in China. After it aired on NPR's This American Life, and some statements in the monologue were found to be false, Ira Glass discussed the monologue with the New York Times reporter Charles Duhigg. He poses the interesting question, should I feel bad about this? Should I feel bad about owning an iPod that was made by workers who are being exploited in China? Duhigg answers by explaining that the U.S. once had harsh working conditions, and we decided that this was unacceptable. Now we have fairly good working conditions, and we have exported these harsh working conditions to other countries. So we are not just complicit in the exploitation, we are in fact responsible for it. What I think this comes down to is not only a question of what the U.S.'s responsibility is to the rest of the world, but also how we choose to divide the world into categories. Why is it not okay to exploit our own workers, but it is okay to exploit foreign workers for our own benefit? The answer, of course, is it's not okay, and we need to change this. But the only way anyone will really care enough to change this is if we stop defining ourselves as Americans first and humans second. This brings me to my second strategy to work towards a more just world. We should tell more stories about people from other countries and privilege the identity of human above our national identity. Of course, we should tell these stories with care and research and cultural sensitivity, but we should tell them. Because the more that we think about people in other countries, the way we think about people in our own country, the more compassionate we will be in this globalized world. I have one final strategy that I believe will be important to implement to keep up with globalization and technological development. That is to use technology. If technology was the catalyst for the rapid globalization that we're experiencing today, then it seems fitting to utilize technology in the fight to make globalization beneficial for all people. Both Yellowface and The Ecstasy of Steve Jobs have important stories to tell, stories that need to be heard by people all over the country and all over the world. They're stories that need to be told to more than just the theater-going populace, which, let's face it, tends to be upper class and white. Yellowface was adapted for YouTube, allowing it to be seen by anyone with internet access. And with nearly half the world and the majority of the US using the internet, that's a lot of potential audience members. The Agony and Ecstasy of Steve Jobs was adapted for NPR, which in truth caused some problems, but because it was not journalism. But it did make the monologue more accessible to more people. Even better, the monologue was released online as a free download, allowing hundreds of thousands of people to access it, to read it, and to perform it for others. Although one of the reasons I love theater is the live interaction between the audience and the performers. This type of adaptation is incredibly important for accessibility and equitable sharing of ideas. Perhaps adapting theatrical works for the internet should be considered a part of the process of making any production. So there you have it, 3 strategies for artists and humans in general to help make globalization good for everyone. 1. Use technology to spread ideas and stories. 2. Expand what it means to be an American through increasing representation of the nation's diversity. And 3. Think of yourself in a global context and tell more stories about other nations. The American character is changing, as it tends to do. Let's change it to be more inclusive, because diversity is good for everyone. Thank you.